Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the world premiere gala opening of Mandela, My Life, the official exhibition.
And like we talk about the celebration of a legacy of Mandela's, who's recognised as one of the great achievements in race relationships in our lifetime. The celebration of Nelson Mandela allows all of us the opportunity to reflect on our values and our spirituality and then shape the actions in life into our lives. He created a narrative, he created a fight, and he then demonstrated to be able to bring us back to humanity. And it is about humanity.
Evening, welcome and thank you for joining us for the opening of this important and timely exhibition, Mandela, My Life. We're especially proud to be presenting this world premiere here at Melbourne Museum, a place for more than 160 years where people have come to learn from the past in order to make sense of and understand the present.
We meet at a significant time. It's the centenary of Nelson Mandela's birth. Today is the day that marks the international celebration of peace. And recently the Victorian Parliament became the first in Australia to pass legislation for a framework for treaties with the first Australians. He changed the course of history as one of the biggest figures in the 20th century. And in a world of relentless struggle for freedom and equal rights, he was someone who changed it at a dramatic time in a way that was for the betterment of people. So this is a wonderful exhibition. I do want to congratulate everybody who has been involved. It's been supported by the Victorian Government's Major Events Fund and will give audiences a rare insight and into the comprehensive collection of artefacts, memorabilia and audio-visual displays that we have covering Nelson Mandela's life.
We always moved that our struggles, not just past but present, continues to draw crowds like we have tonight. 100 years ago, a child was born in Mvezo, in the Transkei, in the eastern part of South Africa. Rolihlahla Mandela was the only son of the Tembu chief Nkosi Mphakanyiswa Mandela and his wife Nosegeni. The combination of upbringing, chance, opportunity, privilege, and good fortune ensured that he became one of the world's greatest leaders, and one we are proud to recognize here tonight. Nelson Mandela regularly reinforced that he was simply part of a collective and not individually deserving of all this adulation. In fact, he noted one time when he was given an award that, "I don't know why people make so much of a fuss. I'm just a simple rural boy." Nelson Mandela remains a remarkable figure the world still looks to and listens to today. Recent political events internationally only serve to re-emphasize just how extraordinary his qualities were. 5 years after his passing, the world still looks to his example and his words for sustenance and hope in a depressing era.
Welcome to you all on a very special night and a project that's been 2 years in the making, and a project that was enormously challenging in many, many respects.
Our fight is against real and not imaginary hardships, or to use the language of the state prosecutor, so-called hardships.
I think you're going to know a little bit more about the man who is Nelson Mandela, and not only him as an icon, as a world leader, but as a father, as a political activist, as a man. I think learning about his cultural upbringing, for me, I connected very strongly to that, and learning about where he was born in the Eastern Cape and his Xhosa culture, and that growth that he had as a child was really important, yeah. I think he's such an important, world leader for all of us. And we know that he went to prison, that we know he was a president, but the complexities leading up to that and after that is not necessarily well known. So I think learning about that, learning more about who he was, and educating for the future. He was about legacy and humanitarian work and making a better world. And I think we all need to know more about that now.
To mark Nelson Mandela's centenary, our message is about building a values-based society. And you can only appreciate values when you appreciate human relations. That solidarity goes with knowing that we must build more bridges than walls. Well, most of the partners who are here were brought on board by us because we have been fortunate that Madiba bequeathed us with his private papers, the letters he wrote while he was in prison, and many other elements that he then donated, artifacts. And then we have partners who also own some of these pieces. And when we called upon them and said, let's collaborate and make sure that this project succeeds, they came on board, and this is the result. This is a city that will appreciate this kind of work and will appreciate the history of Nelson Mandela, and also want to find a way to play their part to building a different country and a different world. Because he was a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, but beyond everything else, he remained a man of the people, a man for all of us.
Nelson Mandela was one of the greatest influences of the 21st century, and what he was able to do changed the world in our view on justice, on freedom, and he was a conviction politician to the point where he was willing to die for his cause. The exhibition takes you back, and the past is never dead and buried, it isn't even past, and it grabs you, and it shows you that there was the Orwellian view by the former South African Prime Minister that apartheid was about good neighbourliness. It's extraordinary. So here was how people were defined, not by their character, but by their colour.
They'd never been shown outside of South Africa. They had a one-night gala preview in South Africa, and then they were put under wraps. I didn't even know all of this was going to happen. I just painted paintings. And then once this thing started gaining momentum, I started getting increasingly more excited about it. The main thing about this is to create a space that you feel you're in. So it's even when he's walking down the road at the end there, you feel that you're looking at it and that you're part of it. And it was very important to get that feeling across. There's something about him that the ideals that he stood for are much bigger than any actions.
And it was a really amazing display, and I think I learnt a lot about his younger years. So to see the moving image and to read his words, and I thought it was amazing. It was really touching. I have to come back and digest and look for more.
It's great, amazing. What an inspirational man. It's a great insight to his life and what he achieved.
Oh, it makes me want to cry. It's, well, I'm South African, so I look at the photographs and we know, well, some of us know the history so well, and it's good to be reminded. It's good for us. We need to remember.
I mean, it's really interesting seeing the history of Nelson Mandela, but those paintings, like, so many. So, just fabulous.
I mean, Mandela's story is incredible. I think you definitely don't get a true appreciation for what he did with his life, and we certainly need to work harder at being better people. I think it's pretty inspiring stuff.
You could definitely spend hours in there. It was amazing.